Hi everyone and good afternoon. It is Sarah Shipton here from Scrapbooking with Sarah, and I'm coming live to you today on Tuesday, August 19 with this week's Technique Tuesday. And I'm just going to straighten this camera just a tiny little bit more. That's better. That's more flat. I'll bring the layout down. Hi Emily, thank you so much for joining me this afternoon. It is a gorgeous sunny winter's day here in Adelaide. Spring is coming, let me tell you. I cannot wait for that warmer weather and that sunshine. It just makes me feel so happy. But I also really love winter too, because it is perfect weather for indoors activities. And one of my favorite indoor activities is scrapbooking, as many of you know. So this week I am sharing with you a double page layout. We are featuring leftovers from my Celebrate Together Scrapbooking Workshop Kit, and I have paired it with components from the celebratory Sips Suite collection. That was an online exclusive that dropped in May, and you'll find that on my website in the online exclusive section. And I love that that particular suite coordinates with the Celebrate Together Scrapbooking Workshop Kit, but also some of the individual components from the Celebrate Together Scrapbooking from Scratch section in your annual catalogue. So I've got my annual catalogue here, and I'm just going to show you. This is the Scrapbooking Workshop Kit that I'm featuring during August. Celebrate Together on page 20 and 21 of your annual catalogue. And then in the back here, you've got a new Scrapbooking from Scratch range. And you'll note on pages 70 and 71 that these individual products actually coordinate with that Scrapbooking Workshop Kit. And there's a little tip here in the top right hand corner that says these products coordinate with the celebratory Sips Suite collection, which you can find online. So as you can see, your creative options will extend quite a way using this particular suite. And I have got no shortage of celebratory type photos. So this could be for birthdays, weddings, engagements, special occasions. We've got lots of milestone birthdays that are happening at the moment in our friendship group, lots of 50th birthdays coming up. And these particular photos were taken at the start of a mum's weekend that I went on a few years ago. We stopped at this beautiful winery in the Barossa Valley. It's called Whistler Wines. And we sat outside in the winter sunshine, drinking rosé. We had a lovely little platter, and it was just beautiful grounds. I'd not been to this winery in the Barossa before, but as you can see, the colours, I wouldn't traditionally use these type of colours with my sort of outdoors photos, but you can see that I've brought in some of the purples and the pinks here in the girls' shirts with this particular layout. And so it was a great way to use some of my leftovers from the kit, but bring in some of the other products from the suite as well. So you're creating a double page scrapbook layout this week. We are on page 23 of the Reflections Scrapbook Program book. This is one I've pulled out from my archives, and we are heading back to basics with these scrapbooking patterns. We're using a title topper pattern. This could be great for a front cover of your scrapbook album. This is obviously showing a double page spread, and what I've done is I've just cut everything twice to be able to convert it into, this is showing you a single page spread. And what I've done is cut everything twice just to convert it into a double page spread. So you are going to need 2 sheets of cardstock or designer series paper, which you quite often hear me refer to as DSP. 2 sheets of DSP for your base pages. I'm going to show you a little trick as to how I've incorporated these 2 patterns, 2 sheets of paper here. Now for the cutting, you will see that this large piece that runs along through the bottom here, you're going to cut that at 8.5 by 12 inches, and then you're going to put that over your base page of your scrapbook. What I actually did was I have used my cardstock that I've torn, I'm going to be teaching you some paper tearing today. I've actually used my cardstock as my base, so I haven't cut that 8.5 by 12 inch paper. I've just torn off the top of my cardstock, as you can see here. And then for paper B, which runs across the top, you're cutting that at 2 by 12 inches. And I had some leftover papers from my Celebrate Together Scrapbooking Workshop Kit. And in case you didn't know, some of the paper that you get in your Scrapbooking Workshop Kits are actually exclusive to the kit. So this particular paper is exclusive, and you can tell because it's white on the background. Now, this paper also, it's not exclusive because you can get this in the Designer Series paper, but the pattern on the either side back to back is different to the paper that you can buy separately in your Designer Series paper, okay? I think, actually, no, this striped pattern here is exclusive, but this one you can get in your Designer Series paper. So quite often I like to use some of my leftover papers from my Scrapbooking Workshop Kit, especially if the paper is exclusive, because I can't buy that. It doesn't come in my Designer Series pack. If I was just to buy the Celebratory Sips paper pack on its own, this exclusive paper is not going to come in it, okay? So I've actually cut a 2-inch strip of my exclusive paper, and then I have stuck that over the top of my cardstock, which I've torn, and then this is a sticker that I've stuck along the top here. So I'm actually going to give you some tips as well on how I've used my leftover stickers and made them actually extend a little bit further. So instead of wasting paper, I mean, you can certainly cut these dimensions. I've posted the pattern in our Facebook group. So you can certainly cut these paper dimensions if you want. It just means that you're going to end up with 2 sheets of paper over the top of your cardstock base. Okay, so I hope that makes sense there. Now, with my cutting pattern, I have actually gone with some 3 by 3 inch photos for my my pattern of my photos. So you can see that I've got some 3-inch photos across the top here, and there would have been another row of 3-inch photos, but I actually had these beautiful 4 by 6 inch photos that I couldn't really cut down. I've got a photo here of the winery on the grounds, the girls and I having some rosé in the sunshine, and then a group photo here at the front before we leave the venue. So I couldn't really cut those photos down. So I've opted for my 3 by 3s in a sort of little side L shape, and then I've just put my 4 by 6 inch pattern here. And then on the other side, again, I've only got one 3 by 3 inch photo here, and then I've just cut my other photos at 3 by 4 inches. So this is a great way to show you that if you are just working with the base of your scrapbook layout, you can actually cut your photo dimensions into any size that works best for your particular photo. And then you can see that I've aligned these evenly across the top, so the eye flows beautifully through here. And then I've come out probably about, I think that's about 3/4 of an inch across here. You can see that this row aligns nicely as well. And I've added on a little journal box also. So in case you didn't know, in your Scrapbooking Workshop Kit for Celebrate Together, you actually get a sheet of these pocket cards that you can cut down. So they're in various sizes. I've used the one that's at 3 by 4 inches, and this is a journal box. So I've used that to do my journaling. I've got a little leftover sticker border here down the bottom and another leftover sticker here from my Scrapbooking Workshop Kit. There's no cutting dimensions for your photo mats, but when I put my photos down over the top, this color cardstock is Fresh Freesia. Try saying that like 5 times really quickly, right? So when I put my photos over the top of my Fresh Freesia, I have to say that really intentionally, it kind of really wasn't popping, and so I've ended up matting all of my photos, and I've used another coordinating color, Blackberry Bliss, from that particular sweet collection. If you are struggling to coordinate your colors, make sure you keep, so you can see here I've got two bits of card that I've cut out and stuck on the front of my bag. So one was the actual card from the Celebrate Together Scrapbooking Workshop Kit, and at the top here, it's got all of the colours that coordinate with that Scrapbooking Workshop Kit. But then I also bought the Celebratory Sips Designer Series paper separately, and again, I've cut that card out and stuck it on the front because it all coordinates. I've just put it all in the one bag, right? But the colours are on the front of your little card here. So this comes as a 12 by 12 sheet of card inside your pack. You don't need that. You can just cut that down, stick it on the front of your bag, and that is a great way to use as a reference point for what colour cardstock coordinates with your Designer Series paper and your suite. So I've gone with Blackberry Bliss, which both of those papers are two-tone. I've used Blackberry Bliss, and then I've used Fresh Freesia. Oh no, it's actually both the original sides up, okay? So if I use the lighter side, I will say the lighter side of the two-tone. So if you're using 3 by 3 inch photos, you will want to cut your mats at 3 1/4 by 3 1/4. If you are using 4 by 6 inch photos, I've cut my photo mats at 4 1/4 by 6 1/4. And if you are doing 3 by 4 inch photos, I have cut my mat at 3 1/4 by 4 1/4. And that just ends up with a nice even mat. Some people cut them at eighths, some people cut them at halves. It really just depends on how thick you want your photo mat to be. But I find that width suits my layouts and my style really nicely. So that is it for in terms of your cutting pattern. And then when I've gone to stick my first photo down, I did eyeball that admittedly, but I would say that that's probably about 3/4 in and 3/4 up. Okay, you'll know because if you're going to cut this piece at 8 1/2 by 12, you're pretty much going to just align your photos center in that piece there. Okay, so you can have a bit of a play around with that based on your style. So let's talk now about the, I'm going to take this out because I've got a flip flap obviously over the top of this. So let's take that out of the memory protector. And I'm just going to run you through some of the little bits and pieces here. So I want to give you some tips with your stickers. So with my Celebrate Together Scrapbooking Workshop Kit, I'll show you, I've got some of my leftovers here. So quite often, when I'm looking at my stickers, this was one big floral sticker, and you can see where I've cut this in my paper trimmer. So this whole sticker was meant to actually go obviously on one of the layouts from the Celebrate Together Scrapbooking Workshop Kit. It was layout number 2, okay? In fact, I've got the instructional guide here with me. So you can see here that we were using that whole big massive sticker. When I actually came to make this layout, I moved this sticker cluster up into the top left corner of my base page, and that enabled me to actually get another photo in here. And because I didn't need such a, oh no, sorry, I apologize. It's this sticker here on layout number 3, my bad. So what I did here was, you can see I've cut my sticker, just this top section of the sticker, because I put a 4 by 6 inch, another 4 by 6 inch landscape photo here. And then I really only needed the top of that sticker cluster. I didn't need to use the whole thing. So I've cut that there just to use the top on layout 3. And then I've got this remaining part of the sticker left over. And that's how I've been able to use that on my layout here. I've just aligned that flush with the outside of my page. It doesn't matter that the sticker is not going that way and it's coming in off the side of the layout. That's totally okay. There's nothing wrong with that. Now, obviously, as you can see here, where I've cut my sticker, I've got this straight edge across the top of the floral pattern. So I've actually fussy cut out some of the little cocktails from my Designer Series paper. Now, if you've got the dies, because the Cheers and Sips bundle did come with a die pack, okay? If you've got the dies, then you can put your die over the top of the Designer Series paper, and you can see here where we've done that. You can actually cut your cocktails out. But I'm going to be honest with you, I created this layout on retreat and I was being very lazy. So I actually fussy cut out these cocktails. And the fun thing about fussy cutting, now when we talk about fussy cutting, that is literally just getting your paper snips, scissors, and cutting around the outside of the element, okay? Now, the fun thing in doing that, because, let me show you here, because I've used my die here, I've actually cut off the top of the glass and you're not including that little garnish piece in there. So this time I decided to fussy cut around the whole cocktail. I've fussy cut this one as well, and then I've just stuck them over the top as a little bit of an added embellishment. So I'm covering up that straight edge of the flower and no one would be none the wiser. So don't you love that little secret that I'm sharing with you? And I've obviously gone with colors of the cocktails that coordinate with my color pattern here. Fresh Freesia, Blackberry Bliss, and I want to say let's go with Mossy Meadow, okay, for the greens. This little cocktail here is actually left over from the designer series paper. So obviously when I've got my leftover bits and pieces, I'm popping them back in my scrapbooking bag. And then you can see here, I've got all these little cocktails. So this is a smaller pattern. This paper comes in the designer series paper. You won't get this paper in your scrapbooking workshop kit. I did buy a second pack of the designer series paper because I knew that I would use a lot of this particular suite with all of my photos. So I have fussy cut out some of the little cocktails and wine bottles here. And then I have stuck this one over the top of my journal box. I had this little leftover sticker from my scrapbooking workshop kit, and then a leftover sticker here as well, which I've just put on the bottom of my journal box. And then here I've got another little sticker cluster with some of the cocktails, sorry, not stickers. These are the little cocktails that I've fussy cut out of my designer series paper. And then down the bottom here, we've got another little sticker cluster. This sticker was left over from my Celebrate Together scrapbooking workshop kit. And these little cocktail glasses I've cut out of my designer series paper. So sometimes I said to my girls at retreat, if you've got like a little cocktail glass on the outside, you can definitely cut that out. You just want to make sure that you're putting that flush against the edge of my page, as you can see here. All of your little elements and embellishments don't need to go to waste. You can certainly be creative in how you've used them. And then I've just created a little cluster using the cocktail glasses, the wine bottle. I've used some Stampin' Dimensionals to stick them on top. And then I've finished that off with the super cute little holographic resin dots. These are part of the Celebratory Sips Suite collection. Now, I want to share with you how I've done my Cheers title across the top here. I am such a big fan of these new party alphabet dies. So you're going to get all your capitals. I have invested in some 5x7-inch magnet sheets, and I've put them onto the back of magnet sheets because it was doing my head in having them on that bit of card and the adhesive sticking down. So I've got my ampersand and some of my punctuation and international letters on the last 5x7. And then I've just managed to fit these upside down. I've managed to fit all my other letters in alphabetical order because I am a little bit fussy. A little bit fussy like that. I've actually popped all of the other alphabets onto all the other letters onto these magnetic sheets. So I've ended up using 4 sheets of these 5x7-inch magnetic sheets, okay? And then that way they can all stay in here really nicely. They're easily to get on and off. And I know that this is it's a big investment, obviously, in your scrapbooking because they retail for $173 Australian. But I did save up some of my Stampin' Rewards to invest in this pack. And I know that it is a pack that I'm going to be using again and again and again to create all of my scrapbooking titles with. Now, the really fun thing that I did here is I've created a little bit of an ombre pattern using my embossing folders and the dies. So I've actually cut my letters out first using my party alphabet dies, and then using my Glass and Gardens embossing folder, I just wanted to do something a little fun. So this is a 2-pack of embossing folders. This comes as part of the celebratory SIP suite, or you can invest in them separately. This is the glass folder, and what I did was, you can see that this embossing pattern doesn't go all the way to the edge of the folder. So after I cut my letters out, I actually stuck them in the embossing folder, but I only went about halfway down the letter, okay? And then I've stuck them over the top of the embossing folder. I've put a little bit of washi tape just to hold them in place, and I close that over and I ran it through my embossing machine. So I probably should have actually done that as my technique for you today instead of the paper tearing, but I really did want to share the paper tearing with you. And it's so funny because my daughter, bless her, she trolls me a little bit, but that's the fun relationship that we have, right? She's like, Saz, that's my nickname, right? She's like, Sazzy, that's like grade 2 scrapbooking, right? Paper tearing is like grade 2 scrapbooking. And I love that we have that banter. It's so fun. And you know what? Yes, paper tearing probably is a little bit of grade 2 scrapbooking, but you would be surprised how often I do get asked if there is a technique to paper tearing. And I wanted to do something fun across the top here instead of just a plain boring straight edge cut for this particular pattern. So I've done the paper tearing first, and then I have stuck my party alphabet dies, my title, across the top using the Stampin' Dimensionals after I have run them through the glass embossing folder. So let me know if you've got this embossing folder or any embossing folder. It just meant that when I put the letter in, I obviously had part of it hanging out of the top when I ran it through. So it only embossed the bottom half of the letter. And then you've got this kind of fun, it's not ombre in like color, but I guess it's like ombre in technique, where this part is embossed and this part is just solid. I think it looks super cool. And it's such a fun thing to do with those letters because they're so big. You could do them really with any embossing folder with that particular technique, okay? So let's get into the paper tearing. Now, I want to show you what I've done on the back here. Because I've used my Fresh Freesia Two-Tone Cardstock, when I've actually stuck the card, I've stuck this 2-inch piece over the top of what I've torn. And then I've obviously ended up with some adhesive showing through the back here. So I've just got some scrap white daisy and then stuck that over the top. So then that adhesive is covered and it's not getting caught on the inside of my memory protector. Now, I have got some of my two-tone papers here that I have already torn. So this is what I want to talk to you about. So obviously being two-tone, depending on which way you want your cardstock to be up, because it's two-tone, it means that the inside of your paper is going to be a white core. So it's dyed with the original Fresh Freesia colour on one side, and then it's dyed with a lighter tone of Fresh Freesia on the other side. And that's how I've been able to get my my white core showing through there. So this is what's actually left over from my top bit. So this is why I've gone with showing the white core through here. Now, you could leave that with the white core. Another fun technique is to get your sponge daubers and dab them in one of the classic Stampin' Pads, and then you can ink across the top of what you've actually torn as well. Just excuse me for a moment. I'm going to let my cat out because I can hear her meowing like crazy and it's doing my head in. I'll be back in just a minute. She wants to get into the room where her food is. Okay, so let's do this tearing technique. I have got my Fresh Freesia cardstock here. I've got these leftover pieces. So if I wanted to see the white core, I would need to turn my cardstock over to the lighter side and then I would see the white core. I would now use this as a title topper on another scrapbook layout. And in fact, you could actually put this over the top of the Fresh Freesia, and this is where you can see that the two-tone of the cardstock stands out really, really nicely, okay? So in terms of doing your tearing, it also, I'm right-handed. So what I like to do is I like to hold the paper with my left hand and tear with my right hand. So if you are left-handed, you would probably do that the other way around. And then of course you want to think about what side you want your two-tone paper to be up, depending on what side you want to see the white core of your cardstock. So in this instance, I wanted the white core showing on the fresh freesia. So I've actually held the fresh freesia side up. I'm holding it with my left hand and I'm just very slowly and diligently tearing bit by bit through my cardstock here. And that is obviously showing up the white core of the cardstock. And the reason I do share this technique is that when we think of paper tearing, I'm obviously being very diligent in doing this. So again, I've ended up with now the white core on the top of my fresh freesia, and then you don't see that on the other side, okay? If I was to turn that the other way up, then I'm going to see the white core on the top of my on the lighter side of my fresh freesia, but not on the original side, okay? I hope that makes sense. Basically, in short, you just need to make sure that you're holding the cardstock up with the color that you want to see the white core on of your cardstock. Now, what was I going to share with you before? I was going to share something with you before, and I've lost my train of thought because I went off on another tangent there, didn't I? Oh, yes. So when we think about paper tearing, I'm going to do this, right? Like, honestly, people are like, do we just do this? And well, that's not going to work, right? Because you do need to hold the paper in place before you tear it if you want to get a really nice or a consistent sort of tear across the 12-inch of the paper, okay? It's not going to work if you're just like holding it and going like that, because it will peel off the edges. All right, so that is the reason I wanted to share that technique with you before, because if you've got like a whole sheet of cardstock here, which let's say that's like $1.45 a sheet or whatever, if you were just to randomly tear it, then you're going to ruin your cardstock, all right? You're going to waste your paper, and I don't want to see you do that. And that's why I wanted to show you that you do really want to hold it nicely in place to get that nice, consistent, even tear. Now, you can see that I've torn on this side a little bit too far down my 12-inch sheet of paper as opposed to this side. It doesn't matter. That's okay. It kind of looks really fun. And at the top, I've actually got a sticker that I've put over the top of my pattern sheet of paper. And I wanted to show you something else as well. Sometimes when I use my stickers on my scrapbooking layout, okay, so now in this case here, this was originally, this was a very thick scalloped sticker, okay? And what I've actually done is cut that with my trimmer, and then I've been able to use some of the scallop sticker, and I've actually been able to then get a 1/4-inch strip of the Blackberry Bliss sticker as well. So in this instance, and the reason I've done that is that there is only one strip of each sticker, and I've been very much used to 2 strips of the same sticker to then be able to put one on each side as a double page spread. So if you've got, in this instance, a sticker and it's literally just 1/2 inch, don't be afraid to put this sticker sheet in your paper trimmer and cut it in half, so then you've got a strip for either side of your scrapbooking layout to help that extend a little bit further. So I hope those little tips have been helpful for you. Oh, one other thing, I actually forgot to almost post this on my scrapbook layout as well. I have also used the Celebrate Together stamp set. So there is a cute little bubble stamp. And when I actually finished this layout, I was like, oh my gosh, I feel like it needs something else, but I wasn't sure what it needed. And all I did was a very faint, I've actually done, well, I didn't have fresh freesia, so I've used the Close to My Heart comparison ink pad, which was lilac. I've just stamped the half of that bubble stamp border continuously along the bottom of my scrapbook page. You can hardly even see it. I don't know if you guys can see it on the video there. You'll have to let me know. You can hardly even see it on the layout there, but when you're like in the flesh looking at it, you can see this really cute little detail stamp. And once I actually did that, it really just finished it off. So if you've got a spot where you think, oh, I want to add something else on here, but I don't know what else to put, just get a stamp and do a cute little border, continual border. And I actually did that after I'd stuck that cluster down. Typically, my tip to you would be to do your stamping first and then put your cluster over the top. But I was able to just stamp this tiny little half-inch section of my cardstock here with my stamp. Don't be afraid to just add a little stamped border along the bottom of your scrapbook, and mint, you will finish off and it will be looking fabulous. So I hope you've enjoyed my Technique Tuesday. Thank you so much to those that are watching. I can see that Emily and Sonia are here. There are a couple more here, but I can't see your name. So a big thank you to you for watching today. I will post this layout to our Facebook group and then also to my YouTube, because a reminder that Facebook delete videos that are done as lives after 30 days. So I do download this video and then upload it to my YouTube channel as well, Scrapbooking with Sarah, and I will post links in the comments to all the products I've used. Don't forget, there's also the My Projects section of my website, scrapbookingwithsarahshipton.stampinup.net. Under the My Projects tab, all of my weekly scrapbooking challenges are loaded there, and the shopping list for the products I've used for each week's layout, you'll find there under the My Projects tab as well. So even though this video gets deleted after 30 days, you can still watch it back on my YouTube and find the shopping list on the My Projects section of my website. Have a wonderful week, ladies. I can't wait to see your layouts and what you create with. I'll be drawing the winner for the August weekly scrapbooking challenges the first Tuesday in September. Off the top of my head, I think that is the 3rd. Have a great week, everyone. I can't wait to see what you come up with. Bye for now.